everyone, and thank you for joining us today to celebrate the official opening of Nixon Field. My name is Tierney, and I'm the Vice Provost and Dean of Student Affairs here at Queen's. Today is truly a spectacular day and a great day for athletics and recreation, and for our rugby programs in particular. It's most fitting that the opening of Nixon Field is a centerpiece in the launch today of our comprehensive campaign that has as its credo a spirit of initiative. The spirit of initiative was certainly evident in this project as we went from concept to having our teams on the field for training camp within a mere 9 months. We are truly delighted to commemorate this special occasion with so many of our guests, our donors, alumni, student athletes, and supporters of our men's and women's rugby program. As many of you know, rugby holds a very special place in Queen's sporting tradition. We are a founding university in the establishment of both the men's and women's leagues, and we are a perennial contender for the league's highest honors. Men's rugby is one of our most decorated teams, and I know that Coach Bartz and our women's team are setting their sights on a similar record of success. Nixon Field is a premier rugby facility in Canada, and it's certainly the envy of every other university in Ontario. The field is a testament to what makes Queen's a great institution: the generosity and legacy of our alumni, the spirit and passion of our student athletes and coaches, and the commitment of the university in supporting health and wellness for our students as an integral part of the learning environment. Nixon Field will be a proud home of the Queen's rugby programs for many decades to come, and it will also support thousands of students in recreation and sport activities. To Görd and Janet Nixon and our many donors, thank you. Through your generosity, we have turned a dream into a reality that will inspire generations of students to come. Thanks also to Paul and Vicki Hand, and we're delighted that Vicki is with us today. They are our stadium cabinet co-chairs, and I'd like to thank them for their leadership and tremendous support. This is the third artificial turf field that has been built under their watch. There are many other individuals that contributed greatly to this project, including our coaches and our athletes, our rugby booster clubs, our staff teams at Physical Plant Services and Athletics and Recreation, and our fantastic project partner, Moor Construction. I'd like to make a special thank you to Bob Palagato and his team for getting us to the point where we can have this wonderful ceremony today. Thank you to all of you. We are honored today to have representatives from the rugby community, our booster club executive, our project partners, and many of our donors here today with us. I'd like to take a moment to introduce our speakers and special guests. Our Chancellor, David Dodge. Our Queen's Board of Trustee Chair, Barbara Paulk. Görd and Janet Nixon. Tom Harris, Queen's Vice Principal of Advancement. Our Director of Athletics and Recreation, Leslie Dalson. The head coaches of our rugby teams, Beth Bartz and Peter Hugenboss. And members of our men's and women's rugby team. For the women's, Susan Heald, Clara Pegg, and Taylor White. And from the men's team, Dan Moore and Graham White. I would now like to welcome two of our rugby captains to say a few words. Susan Heald is the women's rugby co-captain. She's majoring in sociology with a minor in psychology. She's currently in her 5th year on the team and is a 3-time OUA All-Star and received last year's Most Valuable Player. Dan Moore is the men's rugby captain. He's studying for a dual degree in Commerce and History. He's been on the rugby team since 2008, is a 2-time All-Star OUA leading point scorer, and a member of the 2009 OUA Championship team. Dan and Susan.
Thanks, Dan. We are both honored to be here today for the official opening of the newly renovated Nixon Field and the beginning of a new chapter in the history of Queen's Rugby. It is with great pride that both rugby programs can now call Nixon Field their home and boast one of the best rugby pitches in the OUA and across Canada. Queen's has always had a long tradition of success in rugby. The unveiling of this field allows two successful programs to continue to offer the student-athlete experience to a large number of players with an increase in practice times through all weather conditions. Both programs have a tremendously positive on their student-athlete, and this field only looks to enhance those experiences and memories. The field seeks to create a greater sense of community and school spirit between the rugby programs and the broader Queen's student body.
A project of this magnitude takes an enormous amount of effort and generosity from a wide range of people. We'd like to take a couple moments to thank those individuals. Firstly, we'd like to thank Tierney, Leslie Dallison, and the Queen's athletics teams for putting this huge project together. There was a great amount of work behind the scenes, and your efforts are very much appreciated. Secondly, we would like to thank the university for approving the project and for their continued support and belief in the rugby programs here at Queen's. Lastly, on behalf of all our teammates, we would like to thank all the alumni and donors for their generosity in making this project a reality. In particular, we would like to thank Görd and Janet Nixon for their generous donation. Without your contribution, we would not be able to have such an amazing facility, and we thank you for ensuring the future success of storied rugby programs at Queen's. It is great to know that the Queen's rugby alumni community continues to strongly support the club's current members, and the field symbolizes that this community is more close-knit than ever. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dan and Susan. I'd now like to introduce Tom Harris, our Vice Principal of Advancement, to say a few words. Tom, among many other things, ordered up this spectacular weather for us here today.
Thank you, Anne. Unexpected circumstances have called Principal Wolf to Winnipeg to attend to his parents, and unfortunately preclude his attending this exciting event. Görd and Janet, thank you for all that you have done for Queen's, especially your support of the field. I can only imagine how amazing it must be for two Queen's grads who studied here and later married and have had a great success together to be back at this special place to celebrate her gift to the university. I know that rugby was one of Görd's passions, and Görd's legacy at Queen's is already considerable, given his role as chair of the initiative campaign. But Görd and Janet have a shared affection for Queen's, and I appreciate that they have chosen to support their alma mater together with a very generous donation to this new facility. So it is with great pleasure that I invite Görd, BCom 79, LLD 03, and Janet Nixon, BCom 80, to say a few words.
Thank you, Tom, and good afternoon, everybody. And on behalf of Janet and I, we are absolutely delighted to be back in Kingston. On a day like today, it just brings back such fond memories. And it's so wonderful to be here to officially, I guess, open Nixon Field, which I think is just a wonderful addition to the campus. I did play rugby at Queen's for 4 years, and we're not nearly as spoiled as the current rugby teams who get to play on a surface that we would have dreamed of playing. After a week of rain, we played on fields that were not nearly as comfortable and soft as these ones. And, but it is wonderful not only to have such a great field, but to have a great field in the middle of campus. I think it just brings life to the program. It enables not just the rugby players and their family and friends and fans, but it will allow for intramural sports and so many others to take advantage of. So it's great, and hopefully it'll lead to even more great development out at West Campus for the other athletic programs and the other athletic facilities. It's wonderful to have everybody here. I know there's a few of my ex-teammates who are here, and they're easy to recognize. They're the ones whose rugby shirts are 3 sizes too small. But it was, the rugby program at Queen's has always been outstanding. I did happen to play on one championship team, but there's been so many over the years, and one of the greatest parts, of course, has been the friendships and the wonderful associations that we've built up over all those years. And it's not just the people you play with, it's the next generation and the generation after that. And I gather there was an old boys game this morning, which unfortunately some of us are too old to play in now. But it's a great program. It's wonderful to be here. And it's wonderful to have been able to participate in the campaign. We're going to launch officially the overall major campaign this evening, and we're certainly looking forward to continuing to ensure that Queen's goes from strength to strength. So on behalf of Janet and I, thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Gord and Janet. I now invite Tom, Dan, and Susan back up to the stage to present the Nixons with our gifts of appreciation. Over here. The ball that is being given today is signed by all the current players, and the photo is a photo of Görd in his glory days of playing Queen's rugby. Some photos. Okay, we're now going to do a tricky thing that requires a simultaneous unveiling. So I'd like to ask Tom Harris, our Queen's Chancellor David Dodge, and Gord and Janet Nixon to unveil the dedication plaque, which is up here and is designed by Presidential Environment, Inc. Now, before you unveil it, we have to make sure our team at the scoreboard is ready. They're ready. Reads, Nixon Field is dedicated in honor of Gordon Nixon, BCom 79, LLD 03, and Janet Nixon, BCom 80, in recognition of their generous support of Queens and the sport of rugby. So the scoreboard is going to be unveiled by coaches Beth Bartz and Pete Hugenbos, along with women's rugby co-captains Clara Pegg and rugby player and owner Graham White. So we're going to do a countdown to open these at the same time. We're going to start. 3, 2, 1. So I'm now going to invite Gord Nixon to take to the field for a ceremonial kickoff. Gord will be women's rugby co-captain Taylor White. Clara Pegg and Dan Moor will receive Gord's kick. Well, thank you, everyone. This ends our official opening ceremony. I hope you will stay and watch our men's rugby team's game against Waterloo. That's beginning in about 10 minutes. Thanks so much for coming.